Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all well. Today we're back with the second of two videos about a show I've recently seen. If you watched my last video, you'll know that we're just about to talk about Kinky Boots the UK tour, currently made its way through the UK and further afield, but more on that towards the end. If you've never been here before and you're thinking, why is she making two separate videos on one show? Basically, I like to do, if I can, two separate videos on a show. Number one being the nervous guide to said show. The nervous guide is when we talk about things you need to know before going into the show, such as any sensory warnings, content warnings, bits about the theatre if it's a theatre I've never been to before. That usually is about seat views and things like that. Also, most of the time, don't ask me how we got into this, but mostly toilets. I don't know. And then the second video I do is this one. This is the review. I like to put it in inverted commas because basically it's just one gal who loves theatre and 9 times out of 10 goes alone, so I don't get that chance to talk through my experience, to talk about the show, so I film videos. There we are. So if you want to know my thoughts and feelings on Kinky Boots the UK tour, stick around and we'll get into it in 2 whole seconds. So, Kinky Boots the musical, it was a brand new experience to me. No, it wasn't. It is in my top 5 musicals ever. I have this on my wall. I now have a tote bag. I was trying to be so good. And I was just going to buy the programme. And then they were like, we have a tote bag. And I was like, tote bags and musicals and shows are becoming slightly obsession recently. Maybe sometime we'll do that video. And then I looked at it, and on the front / back it has, you can change the world if you change your mind, and it's one of my favourite lyrics in the show, so I bought it. There aren't many shows out there that I have travelled or am willing to travel for. One of them being Nativity, which I once saw on a UK tour in Cardiff. If you don't know, I'm from the Midlands. But for this show, I went further. Because for this show, I travelled 2.5 hours up north to Leeds. I know. I know. Like I said, it is one of my favourite shows ever. I saw it 3 times in London over its time there, including Cash Change 1 and the final show in London. I sobbed both times. I also was there for Pride weekend once, and that was the most insane show I've ever been to, and it sticks in my heart as one of my favourite memories in theatre world. I also saw it on a previous tour, which, according to my googling on the way home, because I couldn't remember who was in that cast, was 2019, so it's been a while. Yeah, we were finally graced with a new production, this time a made at the curve or made by the curve production. So this one had a slightly different feel to every time that I've seen this show previously. Obviously it had the same songs, it had the same dialogue. There were a few lyric changes, not major ones, just things that made this version make sense. Like in the bit in Sex and the Heel when they were doing it ball to heel. We done the period and we make it so that even I could break it, 'cause it's been sung by Scott Page. I appreciated that. This is a made at curve production. Some people call this like a non-replica version because it's a different set and such from like I said, previous versions. This production has been directed by the one and only Nikolai Foster, and his team is quite curve centric. Like the people, if I think of the Curve and their productions, certain aspects of this show creatively are very much on that Curve vibe. I will explain more in a minute. So Nikolai Foster was the director. The choreography for this production is done by Leah Hill, who this is how long I have kind of known of Leah and her excellence. I saw her back in the day when she was in Hamilton's original cast. Now she has gone on to amazing things in the choreography world, and she has made a beautiful show here. The choreography of this show has a little bit of a ballroom feel in certain places, which I quite liked, especially as it kind of links in with one of the key stars of this show. But it also has other movement. I really enjoyed the way the movement worked through this piece, so well done to Leah for that. As previously mentioned, the set of this show and the costumes are different. The set was really clever in a way, because for most part of it, it was just a stationary factory set with moving parts coming on and off. The set was designed by Robert Jones, the same with the costumes. I liked some costumes, some of them weren't my favourites, but that is a personal preference thing, and we're going to move on from that. The other thing to mention that I kind of missed was in the last song of the first act, which is Everybody Say Yeah. If you've seen any production before, you will know of the, I call them treadmills, I don't know what they are, but like there's a lot of like movements, jogging. I'm not describing it very well, but if you've seen the show before, you know what I'm talking about, hopefully. It didn't have that, obviously, because this being a different production, and I did kind of miss it. It did give Johannes a moment to shine in the dancing space, but I just missed it. You kind of get set in your ways, and I am very much a person that doesn't like a lot of change, so having a show that I know quite well and shifting it slightly, I was like, I miss the treadmills, but that's by the by, and really not a big problem. As previously mentioned, this being a made at Curve production had a few names in the creative side who are used quite frequently and who I associate kind of with the Curve. One of those being lighting design. Lighting design was done by Ben Cracknell. This had very much the vibe of a Ben Cracknell lighting design show. I really enjoyed it. I was a big fan of the cube, which is basically a cube. I don't know how to describe it, but in the middle of the set there was like this cube structure, and that had some of the lights embedded into it. I enjoyed the cube. So we're going to move on from the cube because I've said cube too many times. Also wanted to mention the sound, which was done by Adam Fisher. This sounded beautiful. The sound design was really nice in the show, and also the use of an actual band in the pit blasting out the tunes was amazing. And it was just, you kind of, at times with shows that you like slash love, when you haven't have them in your life for so long, sitting there and listening to that music again just hits you in the feels greatly. And from the moment the show started last night, very abruptly, which I did mention in the nervous guide, I was just having a lovely chat with a lady next to me, and all of a sudden, bam, the music started. Yeah, listening to that music again was beautiful. And usually after I leave a show, I listen to a cast recording of that show on repeat. I haven't done that yet. I'm still very much on the Benjamin Button train, and I fear I might be on that train for a while, but I might sneak in the occasional little bit of Kinky Boots, so I'm not just crying at time. So let's move on to the cast. Let's start with the two leads. The lead person playing Lola is Johannes Radebe. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Everyone knows him from Strictly, and I feel like a lot of the audience in my performance was there solely for JoJo, which I'm happy that people went to see the show and were appreciative of the show, but also were clearly there for Johannes. I have to say, prior to going in, I was not nervous but apprehensive for this casting. I have friends who saw it in its initial first stop, if you will, which was the Curve. I knew that it wasn't going to be a bad show, but having someone who is predominantly known as a dancer in this big role of Lola got me a little bit apprehensive. However, saying all this, I have to say that Johannes definitely held his own. It definitely looks like he's having an absolutely amazing time on that stage, and that is half the energy of Lola. Lola is this big amazing character, and Johannes incorporated and embedded that just in his nature. So I have to sing the praises of Johannes for that. Charlie in this production was played by Dan Partridge. I have to say I didn't really know Dan prior to going into this show, and as I was talking to my friend on the way home, I, being a person who has seen this show a lot of times previously, have seen some absolutely amazing Charlies, and always in a show you've got, if you've seen it previously and then you see it with a different cast, there's always in the back of your mind, even though you shouldn't, you are always kind of comparing different people who've done that role. Like I said, I know I shouldn't, but it's there in your brain. You're always going to have it there. Dan had good chemistry with everyone on the stage. I enjoyed his work alongside Johannes. I enjoyed his work alongside the person who plays Lauren, who I'm about to get into. I enjoyed his work, and I've said enjoyed too many times, so we're going to move on to Lauren, who is played by the one, the only Courtney Bowman. I adore Courtney with all my heart, and having somebody like Courtney in the role of Lauren was just amazing. As you may know, because I do like to bring it up every so often, having somebody in that lead romantic role, if you will, who looks a little bit size-wise like me, is just a godsend, because we are always the funny, silly best friend, and occasionally we want to be the love interest. We want to be the one that has the happy ever after, and I love that role of Lauren because Lauren is kooky but also an amazing character, and Courtney was amazing in it. The history of Wrong Guys, the things that Courtney did towards the end of that song, my mouth went in the theatre. I was literally like, yes, Courtney. Loved her. 100% amazing. Also, whilst we're talking about 100% amazing people, we had Scott Page as George, slash part-time angel, because in Land and Lola he gets his angel on. Was not expecting that, although I kind of should have, didn't. So that was amazing. And I, again, am a massive fan of Scott Page. He has done some amazing things over the years, and him as George is another excellent one. Speaking of the angels in this show always make or break the show, and this bunch of angels are absolutely amazing. They also I feel like the angels were also used a bit more in some of the big numbers that Lola is part of, just to boost up the vocals and hit and break the roofs. The angels are played by, let me get my book, Rue Fisher, Kofi Dennis, Liam McAvoy, Ben Middleton, Ashley Packer, and there we go. There is also one more angel I need to discuss, and that is the person who plays Charlie's dad, who was played by Jonathan Dryden Taylor. Now, if you know this show, Charlie's dad kind of passes away towards the beginning. So therefore the dad doesn't have a lot to do. In this production, Charlie's dad then turns into an angel. I am on the fence, even after seeing it, on this decision. Obviously there is wigs, there's makeup, there is things to make it obvious that Charlie's dad is now not Charlie's dad, he's an angel, but it wasn't my favourite decision that was made in this production. Again, personal preference, sorry. This cast were absolutely incredible. It was lovely to see a few familiar faces that I've seen in previous productions, and also some new faces. Like I said, Kinky Boots is one of those shows that has a big part in my heart. I love the message behind it, to the point that when it came to Just Be at the end, everyone else was cheering and clapping in their seats, and I was wiping away the tears. I just love this show with all my heart, and it has been done well in this production. Listening to those songs being sung live again in my face was absolutely beautiful. And I'm so glad that I got myself a ticket to see this show. I feel like I should probably explain the reason why I went all the way to Leeds for it. I think I may have discussed this in the Never's Guide, but if I didn't, basically by the time I booked my ticket there was none available in Birmingham, but also in a lot of the different places on this tour, and it just so happened I found one in Leeds on a Saturday night, so I took myself up to Leeds. I stayed the night. I literally came in, saw the show, slept, came home, so I'm kind of dishevelled right now. So there we are. Normally at this point I say this show is going on its tour for a little bit longer. It is, however, as just mentioned, a lot of the show is sold out. I assume quite a lot is down to the fact that Johannes is playing Lola, and he stays with the show up until the 19th of July. The show then goes to Oxford between the 26th 22nd and the 26th of July, and there is also a few European dates on the Kinky Boots UK Tour website, which I will try and remember to leave linked down below. Also scattered in there is Stoke in about November time. I don't know who will be Lola at that point. I don't know how much of the cast is sticking on from the Oxford portion until the end. I don't know. But there are dates and information on the UK Tour website for you to go and check out if you so wish. But yeah, I am so glad that I finally got to listen to this show again after so long. It is one of my favourites. It will forever be one of my favourites. I feel like as long as the music stays the same and the cast is insane, then I will always love this show. There we are. I'm going to leave this video here and say thank you very much for watching, and as always, I love you all lots. And the final thing to say before my camera battery dies for a second time is so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, and goodbye. Bye.